The Islamic ruling on dogs is a nuanced topic with differing scholarly opinions. It is often misunderstood, so it's important to present the various views. Here is a detailed breakdown of the Islamic rulings on using and keeping dogs. Core principle: distinction between impure and unlawful. The primary point of consensus is that a dog's saliva is considered ritually impure, najis, by the majority of scholars. This is based on a well-known hadith, prophetic tradition. The Prophet said, "If a dog drinks from the utensil of any one of you, let him wash it 7 times, the first of which with soil." Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim. This ruling primarily affects ritual purity, tahara, which is a prerequisite for acts of worship like prayer. However, impurity does not automatically mean it is forbidden to own or benefit from a dog. The permissibility depends on the purpose. Permissible reasons for keeping and using dogs. There is strong scholarly consensus that it is permissible to keep and use dogs for specific, beneficial purposes. These are derived from other hadiths that praise and allow the use of dogs for specific tasks. The main permissible purposes are hunting, to train and use for catching game; guardianship, to guard homes, farms, and property; herding, to guard and manage livestock like sheep and cattle; service and assistance. This is a modern extension of the principle of necessity. The vast majority of contemporary scholars include police and military dogs, for detection, tracking, and security; guide dogs for the blind and visually impaired; search and rescue dogs; medical detection dogs. A hadith illustrates this principle of permissibility for a valid need. The Prophet said, "Whoever keeps a dog that is not for hunting or for guarding livestock, will have 2 chirat, a large amount, deducted from his rewards every day." Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim. The ruling on keeping dogs as pets. This is the area of greatest debate among scholars, centered on the interpretation of the hadith above. There are 2 main opinions. 1. The majority opinion, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali. It is prohibited, haram, to keep a dog without a valid, legitimate need as defined by the Sharia, like those listed above. Reasoning: the hadith is clear and general. It explicitly states a severe spiritual consequence, loss of reward, for keeping a dog without a need for hunting or guarding. This is seen as a prohibition. Implication: keeping a dog purely for companionship, as a pet, is not considered a valid reason under this opinion. 2. The minority opinion, Maliki and some contemporary scholars. It is disliked, makruh, but not strictly forbidden to keep a dog, even as a pet. Reasoning: the Maliki school interprets the loss of reward in the hadith as a strong discouragement, not an absolute prohibition. They argue that if it were truly haram, the punishment would be more severe or explicitly stated as a sin. They also place weight on other narrations that show a level of tolerance towards dogs in Medina. Practical guidelines for a Muslim who keeps a dog for a permissible reason. If a Muslim keeps a dog for a valid purpose, e.g., guarding, disability assistance, they are advised to observe the following out of respect for the rulings on purity and the angels. Manage purity. The dog should not have free access to living areas, especially where prayer is performed. Its saliva must be cleaned according to the prescribed method, washing 7 times, one of which with earth, soil, if it comes into contact with clothes, utensils, or the body. Angels and the home. There is a well-known hadith that states angels do not enter a home where there is a dog. Scholars explain that this primarily refers to the angels of mercy, and it is most concerned with dogs kept without a need. Even with a valid need, it is recommended to keep the dog in a separate area, like a yard or kennel, not in the main living and sleeping quarters. Compassionate treatment. Islam mandates kindness to all animals. A dog must be provided with proper food, water, shelter, and veterinary care. It is a sin to abuse or neglect an animal. Hunting, guarding, herding permissible, halal, explicit exception in the hadith. Service, police dogs permissible, halal, extension of the principle of necessity and benefit. Keeping as a pet, for companionship only, prohibited, haram, hadith stating a loss of rewards for non-essential keeping. Keeping as a pet, Maliki view, disliked, makruh, interprets the hadith as a strong discouragement, not a prohibition. In essence, the Islamic ruling on dogs is not one of outright hatred or blanket prohibition. It is a balanced and purposeful approach. For necessity and benefit, dogs are permitted and their use is encouraged. For companionship alone, the majority of scholars hold that it is prohibited due to the spiritual consequences mentioned in the hadith and the issues of ritual purity. Therefore, a Muslim should weigh their intention carefully. If there is a genuine, beneficial need, it is permissible to keep a dog while observing the guidelines of purity.